Parents used my wedding fund for my twins' lavish celebration, so I finally cut them off. But now they're back, needing my help. I, 25F, must explain everything here. I've had this rivalry with my twin sister, Anna, for as long as I can remember. In my case, it wasn't just between us, but I suppose that's normal for siblings. Without even recognizing it, my parents were deliberately pressuring us into it. I was just there, and they've always treated Anna like she's something unique. I'll tell you why this occurred. Anna is precisely 15 minutes my senior. You heard correctly, 15 minutes. It seems that's all it takes to be my family's golden child. Emily was their miracle baby, the one who could do no wrong from the day we were born. I wasn't a horrible kid or anything, but she always received the credit for whatever I did. My first recollection of this partiality dates back to kindergarten. Both of us participated in the school play. I played the main part in Little Red Riding Hood, and Anna got 2 lines as a flower. Anna started crying on stage during the concert after forgetting her lines. My parents missed my entire performance as they hurried to console her right away. Later that evening, they didn't even recognize my accomplishment, all they could speak about was Anna's bravery for trying. For the duration of primary school, this pattern persisted. Anna would be told, "Oh honey, you tried your best," if she received a C on an exam. But I would hardly be acknowledged if I received consecutive A's. I recall working on a science fair project about renewable energy for weeks in 4th grade. I conducted research, constructed models, and even spoke with regional environmental specialists. When I handed my parents the blue ribbon for winning first place, they hardly gave it a glance. Anna had a difficult day during volleyball practice. But that's still wonderful. Can we discuss this at a later time? After that, I stopped showing them my honors. The worst thing was that they made no effort to conceal their partiality. My dad used to make jokes at family get-togethers about how Anna was their firstborn, and despite the fact that we're twins, those 15 minutes somehow made her the older sister. Anna is our responsible one, she looks after her younger sister, he would remark. I was standing there, listening to them reduce me to Anna's shadow and nothing more. Things started to have a significant psychological impact on me in middle school. I became quite driven to prove myself. I joined as many clubs as I could, including the student council, the debate team, and the math club. I was motivated to excel at everything, so I studied late into the night. Anna, on the other hand, coasted through doing very little but somehow received more attention and recognition. One particular incident sticks out. I was selected to compete in the state-level mathematics competition on behalf of our school in the 8th grade. I prepared for months, frequently studying until 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. Anna had a recreational soccer match on the same day as the competition. In addition to not showing up to support me, my parents didn't even inquire about how I was doing. All they could speak about when I brought home the trophy for second place was how Anna needed to be cheered up because her team had lost their game. With greater stakes, high school was more of the same. I was still participating in as many extracurricular activities as I could, taking all of my AP classes, and keeping my GPA at 4.0. Anna spent much of her time at parties and barely kept up a C average. She was still the fun and social one, though, and I was criticized for being too competitive and serious. The discrepancy was brought to light during our senior year. Because of my academic accomplishments, I was named valedictorian, accepted on a full scholarship to a top university, and even had an article in the local newspaper. Anna enrolled at community college after barely graduating. However, my parents bemoaned Anna's failure to get into her first-choice school for the whole of our graduation celebration, which was meant to be for the two of us. In their address, they made no mention of my accomplishments. The pivotal moment occurred while attending college. I continued to keep perfect grades while working part-time to support myself. I attended a prestigious institution to study computer science. I would return home during every break with the hope that something had changed, that perhaps my parents had begun to see my value. Instead, it was Anna this and Anna that. Somehow, her decision to leave community college after just one semester was interpreted as a sign that she was brave enough to follow her own path. Then, during my junior year, came Thanksgiving break. Everything changed when my uncle, who had always had a slightly excessive love for alcohol, made a mistake. He disclosed that my parents hadn't even intended to have twins. While thinking back on my mom's pregnancy, he mentioned how they were devastated to learn they were expecting 2 children when they had only intended to have 1. My dad, being the docile person he is, simply shrugged and said, "We'll figure it out." My mom had been concerned about how they would manage 2 babies. However, their method of figuring it out was to basically choose a favorite and focus all of their energy on her, which was, of course, Anna, their cherished firstborn. In their minds, those pivotal 15 minutes were the difference. After years of wondering why they didn't care about my accomplishments, everything suddenly fell into perspective. When my uncle confessed this to me while we were seated at the dinner table, it all made perfect sense. I was the afterthought and the unexpected addition, not the child they had hoped for. Something in me altered after that realization. I gave up trying to please them. I put all of my attention into creating my own life instead. I gave my all to my coursework and internships, wanting to succeed for myself, not for them. By the time I graduated, I received several job offers from prestigious tech businesses. I took a job at a promising startup as a software engineer, and after 3 years, I was promoted to senior developer. Anna, meanwhile, was organizing this lavish wedding after meeting a wealthy man at a pub and having a brief flirtation. Naturally, my folks were ecstatic. They couldn't even recall the name of the company I worked for, yet they spent hours on the phone with her, talking about the specifics of the wedding. My company was getting ready for an initial public offering, IPO, and my stock options were worth more than Anna's fiancé made in a year. The irony was that I was actually doing very well. They never inquired about my professional background. It was the wedding fund situation that ultimately crushed my heart. The only one who had ever treated us fairly was our grandmother. She left each of us a sizable sum of money before she died, specifically for our upcoming weddings. She had been very explicit that we were to share the money evenly. She told me in private that she was aware of my parents' treatment of me and that this was her way of making sure I would have something that was exclusively mine. Naturally, though, my parents were unable to honor her last wishes. Anna wanted this ridiculously lavish wedding complete with a celebrity photographer, a fancy outfit, and several locations. They chose to take from my share of the inheritance rather than urging her to cut back or asking her wealthy fiancé to contribute more. They didn't even tell me. They didn't ask. It wasn't until months after the wedding that my inebriated uncle, yes, the same one, spoke about it at another family get-together. When I confronted them about it, they responded angrily. "Oh, honey," my mother remarked dismissively, waving her hand. "We were going to tell you eventually. When we can, we'll reimburse you." Even worse was my father's reply, "Well, Anna needed it more. She's the conventional one, getting married, and since you're so preoccupied with your work, it's unlikely that you'll even desire a lavish wedding." I felt nothing as I stood in their kitchen, staring at these people who were meant to be my parents. This deep emptiness, without any sadness or rage. They were unable to even comprehend the wrongness of what they had done. They believed that since it was for Anna, it was totally acceptable to take my inheritance without my consent. Anna had always been the focus. I returned to my flat that evening and gave my life a lot of thought. I came to see that Anna had eclipsed or completely disregarded every significant turning point, accomplishment, and proud moment in my life. My graduation from high school? They were too preoccupied comforting Anna over her grades. Due to Anna's difficulties at community college, my college scholarship was hardly recognized. Anna was preparing for her wedding, so they disregarded my first promotion. I did something I should have done years ago. When I opened my laptop, I emailed them and said, "I am aware of the wedding fund. I am aware that, without consulting me, you used my inheritance to pay for Anna's wedding. The way you've treated me throughout my life is more important than the money. You never made an effort to conceal the reality that I was never the daughter you desired. I'm done attempting to win your affection and acceptance. I'm over being the kid you didn't want. Do not get in touch with me again unless it is to repay my money, please." I felt a tremendous weight lift off my shoulders as I hit send. I blocked their numbers and deleted them from all social media. I didn't have to worry about trying to meet Anna's standards or gaining acceptance that I would never receive, for the first time in my life. It has been a life-changing year. I gave my job and personal development my full attention. My stock options are now worth more than Anna's entire wedding expenses because our company's initial public offering, IPO, was a success. I started therapy to address my childhood trauma, purchased my own home in a desirable area of the city, and formed sincere friendships with individuals who genuinely respect me for who I am. Occasionally, Anna makes an effort to connect through distant family members or mutual friends. She will write things like, "Family should stick together," or, "You're still my sister." But where was this sense of family when she joyfully received my inheritance for her wedding? Where was that loyalty when she shared in our parents' complicity throughout the years? Some relatives have attempted to place the blame on me, claiming that I'm being too severe, that blood is thicker than water, and other such platitudes. However, these are the same individuals who silently observed my parents' years-long favoritism of Anna. They remained silent while witnessing my treatment. They are no longer able to express an opinion. It's interesting because cutting them off has made me realize who my true family is: my therapist, who is helping me see that none of this was my fault, my coworkers, who applaud my accomplishments, and my college best friend, who assisted me in moving into my new home. These are the people who genuinely care about me. I have been offered a role as a team lead at the firm I work for, which recently launched a new office in a different state. For the first time in my life, I'm making a decision without considering how it will compare to Anna or what my parents will say. It's a great opportunity. It feels amazing to be living my life for myself. Update 1. 2 weeks ago, everything changed drastically. My phone began ringing with several calls from my uncle while I was in the middle of a team meeting. My initial reaction was to ignore it. Family calls always indicate turmoil, but I decided to answer because receiving so many calls in quick succession felt unusual. He began speaking with a trembling voice. "Hey, it's Uncle Greg." I knew right away that something was wrong. He's typically the type of guy who remains positive, even in the face of adversity. "I need to discuss your parents with you," he said. I felt sick to my stomach. I knew this couldn't be good news. I hadn't heard from them in 2 years. "What's happening?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "They were involved in an accident. A rather bad one. They're in the medical facility," he said after a pause. "Their car was struck by a truck that ran a red light. Your dad is in critical condition, and your mom has several fractures. They've been in the hospital for days." "Days?" I repeated, raising my voice. "And until now, no one thought to tell me?" "They wanted me to let you know in a calmer tone," he said. "I believe they want to see you." But that wasn't all. Their insurance had lapsed 6 months prior due to financial difficulties caused by credit card debt and poor investments. Uncle Greg explained that their medical bills were mounting, and they were far from being discharged. "What about Anna?" I asked, already knowing the answer. Uncle Greg sighed. "She said she couldn't assist with the bills. She visited once, right after the accident, but she didn't want to ask her husband for money so soon after their honeymoon. She's occupied with her stepchildren, her new family." That made me laugh bitterly. Typical Anna. She was too proud to ask her wealthy husband for help, even though she had no problem taking my inheritance for her wedding. I sat in my office for a while after I hung up with Uncle Greg, staring out the window at the city skyline. I couldn't focus on anything else for the next few days. My mind kept racing, picturing my parents in hospital beds, wondering if they were hoping I would come. Part of me felt guilty for even hesitating to help. They were my parents, after all. But then, the memories came flooding back, the years of favoritism, the stolen inheritance, and the way they only contacted me now because they needed something from me. 3 days after Uncle Greg's call, Anna texted me. I am aware that you are doing well at work. Parents are in dire need of assistance. This is your opportunity to act morally. My opportunity to act morally. Where was her moral compass when she used my inheritance to pay for her wedding? Where was her sense of duty when she watched our parents brush off my accomplishments for years? A week passed, and my parents finally called. My mother's voice was weak, likely from painkillers, but her manipulative tone was still the same. Sweetheart, we're in a really tough situation here, she began. According to the specialist, the expenses might reach $200,000, not including rehabilitation. We acknowledge our shortcomings as parents, but... I cut her off. No, you don't. And you never will. You haven't contacted me in 2 years, and now the only reason you're reaching out is because you need money. That's not fair, my dad chimed in, his voice frail but indignant. Family supports family. That phrase, family supports family, was the breaking point. Years of pent-up anger spilled out. Family supports family? I repeated. When you used my inheritance to pay for Anna's wedding, where was that support? When you missed my college graduation, where were you? When you ignored every significant moment in my life because you were too busy doting on Anna, where was your sense of family? There was silence on the other end. Then, my mother began to cry. How can you be so cruel? Your dad may need surgery. Will you truly desert us at this point? I took a deep breath and said the words I had been holding in for years. Yes. In fact, I will. All my life, you emotionally abandoned me. You just thought of me as Anna's shadow and your fallback option. Now that Anna refuses to help, you turn to me? No. I am done being your last resort. My father tried again. But we're family. No, I interrupted firmly. We're not. You decided years ago that Anna was the only child deserving of your love. We haven't been family for a long time. I'm finished. Do not contact me again. I hung up and blocked their numbers once more. The days that followed were difficult. I kept second-guessing myself, wondering if I was being too harsh. Despite everything, I felt pangs of guilt. Should I still help them? But every time those thoughts surfaced, I remembered the countless times they dismissed my worth and only reached out when they needed something. Uncle Greg called again a few days later, attempting to guilt-trip me by emphasizing how dire the situation was. He mentioned they were considering remortgaging their house and how their health was deteriorating. But I knew deep down that I wasn't responsible for their choices. They made their decisions, favoring Anna, squandering money, and letting their insurance lapse. Now they had to face the consequences. Some might call me heartless, and maybe I am. But I've spent my entire life striving to earn their love and approval, only to be treated as an afterthought. I'm done being their fallback when Anna refuses to step up. Update 2. 3 days ago, my life took another drastic turn. I was enjoying a quiet evening at home, reviewing project paperwork while sipping on an expensive glass of wine. My doorbell rang at precisely 8:07 p.m. I froze, uncertain who it could be. Most of my friends usually text before coming over. Peering through the peephole, I saw her. Anna. She stood there, perfectly put together in a designer gown, flawless makeup, and clutching a $15,000 Hermes Birkin bag. The irony wasn't lost on me. That bag alone could have covered a significant portion of our parents' medical bills. For a moment, I considered pretending I wasn't home. But something in me had changed in the past few weeks. I wasn't the person who used to shrink around Anna. She had intimidated me for too long. No more. I opened the door with a calm, almost dismissive demeanor. "Well, if it isn't my dear sister. What brings you to my humble abode?" Without waiting for an invitation, she swept past me into the apartment, her eyes scanning the space. I could see her mentally cataloging everything: the original artwork, the contemporary furniture, the floor-to-ceiling windows with a stunning view of the city. I could almost hear her comparing it to her suburban McMansion. "Nice place," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "Very cozy." I smirked. "Stop wasting time, Anna. Why are you here?" She adjusted her scarf, a nervous tic from childhood. "Mom and Dad are deteriorating. Mom's physical therapy isn't covered by their payment plan, and Dad needs emergency surgery. They're discussing selling the house. And that's my problem because..." I arched an eyebrow, letting the question hang. "Because you can help them," she said, her polished exterior cracking. "I know your company went public. I checked the stock prices. You've got the cash." I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "You've been keeping tabs on me? Fascinating. Did you do this much research before using my inheritance for your wedding?" Her face flushed crimson, but she pressed on. "That's different. I have a new family now, stepchildren, obligations. James and I have financial plans. I can't just throw money at this." "And I can?" I shot back. "You're their golden child, Anna. Why don't you step up?" Anna's face turned red, a familiar sign from childhood. Her dramatic outbursts always started this way, and they always ended with our parents comforting her. But this time, there were no parents to intervene. "That's different," she stammered, her voice trembling. "I have stepchildren now, a new family. James and I have financial plans. When a family situation arises, I can't just throw money at it." I couldn't help but laugh, a cold, mirthless sound. "Can't just throw money at it? You certainly had no problem throwing my money at your wedding. Where was this concern for financial planning then? Where is your wealthy husband in all this?" Her flush deepened. "You're being cruel," she said, her voice faltering. "There are parents." "No, Anna," I said, my tone firm. "What's cruel is standing by while they ignored my entire existence for years. What's cruel is stealing my inheritance to pay for your fairy tale wedding. And what's cruel is showing up here now, only because you need something." I turned and walked to my home office, grabbing my laptop and some paperwork. When I returned to the living room, I placed the laptop on the coffee table and spun it toward her. "Let's talk about money, Anna," I said, my voice icy. "Here's my portfolio. These are my stock options, my investments, and my earnings. Let me spell it out for you. This," I pointed to a number on the screen, "is more than your husband will make in the next 5 years. I could write a check right now that would cover everything. But I won't." Anna's mouth opened and closed, her usual sharp wit seemingly gone. "You're just a programmer," she finally whispered, almost as if to herself. "Not anymore," I replied, closing the laptop with a sharp snap. "I'm a senior development director. While you and your husband were playing house, I was building a career. And I did it without stepping on anyone else." "You're being selfish," she said, her voice shaking now. "This isn't about the past, this is about helping them now." "Selfish?" I repeated, the word stinging like a slap. "Let me tell you what's selfish, taking my inheritance without asking. ignoring me at every major milestone in my life. Expecting me to clean up a mess that you and our parents created. That's selfish. I walked to the door and opened it, gesturing for her to leave. We're done here, Anna. Don't come back. She clutched her designer bag as though it could shield her from the weight of my words. You'll regret this, she said, though her voice lacked its usual confidence. The only regret I have, I replied, is not cutting ties sooner. Goodbye, Anna. She hesitated for a moment, then swept out the door, her expensive heels clicking against the floor. I closed the door behind her, locking it firmly, and poured myself another glass of wine. It was a $200 bottle I'd been saving for a special occasion. This felt like one. The next morning, my phone was inundated with notifications. Anna had spent the night calling every family member who would listen, spinning a tale about how prosperity had made me heartless and how I was abandoning our parents in their time of need. Uncle Greg emailed me a long guilt trip about karma and family obligations. I didn't bother responding. Instead, I created a folder with every relevant document, my inheritance paperwork, the bank statements showing how my money was used for Anna's wedding, and screenshots of her texts admitting she wouldn't help with the medical bills. I shared it in the family group chat. The chat went eerily silent after that, except for one reply from our cousin Angela. Holy crap. You actually did it. You were successful on your own. Over the next few days, I finalized my decision to accept the promotion. It came with a substantial raise and a new stock options package. I listed my apartment for sale and began looking at penthouses in my new city. For the first time in my life, I felt completely free, no Anna, no parents, no lingering sense of obligation. Last night, Anna sent me one final text. Mom's crying every night because of you. I replied with a screenshot of the inheritance documents and a simple message. She had years to cry about how she treated me. Her tears don't work on me anymore. Then I blocked her number, along with every other family member who had tried to manipulate me. Closing this chapter feels like finally putting down a book I should have stopped reading years ago. Reddit, your support helped me find my voice and my strength. Thank you for reminding me that it's okay to put myself first. For the first time, I'm excited about my future, a new city, a new role, a new home, and a life where I answer only to myself. Some may call me a jerk, but I've learned that being labeled selfish by toxic people is often a sign that you're finally advocating for your own happiness. Thank you, Reddit. You gave me the courage to reclaim my life. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe and turn on notifications to be the first to have radish and real stories with you. Have a great day.